Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Jessica Abella and I am a tax advisor in the Seattle area. Today, as we head into the tax season for tax year 2025, I'd like to walk you through two important new deductions that many taxpayers are going to benefit from this year. The first one is the tips deduction, and the second is the overtime deduction. These are all part of recent tax law changes designed to put a little more money back in your pocket, especially if you work in hourly or service-based jobs. So let's break down what you need to know, how to qualify, and what records to keep, and how those deductions affect your tax return. So first, the tips deduction. What is it? Who qualifies? If you are an employee in a customarily tipped industry, you may take this deduction for the tips that you have earned. There are limitations to this. There's an income limitation and a limit to the total tips. The most important thing to know is that you do need to be in an industry that is customarily tipped. The IRS has issued a exhaustive list of industries that fit. And the idea really is that you can't revamp your income in an industry that does not normally have tipping in order to restructure your income to be more tips and more of a deduction. But if you are a hairstylist or server that is customarily tipped, you're eligible for this deduction. This deduction only applies to tips that you have actually reported to your employer. They need to appear on your W-2 in that tips line. So if you are accepting tips under the table and not reporting them correctly, you may not include those. So make sure to work with your employer if you have unreported tips to be sure to get those on your W-2. If you are self-employed and also in those customarily tipped industries, you may also be eligible for this deduction. So at tax time, what you will need is your W-2 if you're an employee, which does have that separate line for tips. You may also need any documentation that you have with your daily tip tracking if it doesn't match what's on your W-2. But again, it's better now here in December, try to get that resolved if you can. If you're self-employed, you will need reports from your point of sale system or something similar that delineates tips from your other income. Note that that income must be reported to you on a 1099. It's usually going to be a 1099-K from your credit card processing company, even though the 1099 will not be changed to reflect tips as a separate line item for tax year 2025. Definitely expect that going forward into 2026. So when it gets to your tax return, this deduction is an adjustment to income. It reduces your taxable income even if you don't itemize. Again, be aware that there is a limit to the amount of tips you can deduct, and there is an income limit. So if you are a high income earner, high income household, this deduction may not apply. The second new deduction is the overtime deduction. And the overtime deduction applies only to employees that were paid overtime for working over 40 hours in a week. And the deduction is based on not the full time and a half that you earned, but on just that extra half. Say you make $10 an hour, well under minimum wage around here. But for the ease of math, if you make $10 an hour and for your overtime hours, you're making time and a half, you're making $15 an hour, the deduction is based on that extra $5 premium that you are receiving on those hours. So keep that in mind. It's not all of your overtime income. It's just that little premium. There is a limit to this one as well. There are income limits for this one as well. The documentation on this is a little trickier because the W-2s are not going to be modified for this for 2025. There may be some payroll systems that will have this implemented already, but I would be prepared for it not to appear in your W-2. So in addition to your W-2, be prepared to provide your final pay stub of 2025 in the tax preparation process. or a payroll summary, something that shows your overtime hours listed separately and overtime income listed separately from your regular hours. Like the tips deduction, this applies whether you're itemizing or not. So definitely make sure that you mention it in tax preparation if you work overtime. So, what you should be doing now to prepare for tax season. Again, review your pay stubs, whether you're tipped or whether you're working overtime, or maybe you do both. Look at your pay stubs, make sure your tips are accurately reported, make sure you have a pay stub that shows your overtime hours for the year, and make sure to grab that final pay stub of 2025 as we go into the new year. If you track your tips, make sure that that matches your records. And if you're working with a tax professional, be prepared for specific questions about overtime and tips and anything unusual in your 2025 income in that tax prep process. So if you have questions about this or any other tax topic, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. If this was helpful, click like and share it with a friend. Subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon for tax season 2025.